Thanks for the invitation, actually, James. And coming to me, I've been in clinical data management for almost 20 plus years now, and it's a very interesting field if someone likes the data, and uh, and you have to think a little bit outside the box to understand why. That is where the your expertise comes into the picture and say what I learned myself is that instead of looking at something wrong, why is it wrong? That way you'll understand better what happened actually than just saying that it's wrong. You have to dig a little bit more into that to understand why is it wrong. And anyone planning for a future career in clinical data management, I want to differentiate a little bit between a lot of people get confused who are not in the industry, data management as clinical data management. So there is a difference there. Data management is yes, it's common across, but clinical data management applicable only to the clinical industry, pharma, biotech, all this, CROs, all this stuff there. So that is the reason I want to separate that clearly, say that this is clinical data management. I'm not talking about data management, I'm talking purely about clinical data management. As the industry and the technology is changing, I would recommend anyone to learn a little bit about the metadata, a basic programming skill. The technology is evolving. You just can't say that, oh, someone will do it for you. It's not going to happen like that. You don't need to do too much programming, but understand what is metadata. On the fun side of it, actually, when I learned by 30, 40 years back what is metadata, it is, they call it as, the, the right word is data about data. I don't know the meaning of it as of today, but I'm just saying that like that is how people call it, as data about data. What is that means is that like you need to understand what is a variable, and is a variable can be null or not null, is it expected or required or mandatory variable. It means that it cannot have null values allowed, and importantly you have to understand the data type is a character or numeric, and you, is it a code list attached to that variable. So this is how you learn things from programmatic point of view. So before I just stop my introduction here, I always tell data managers, clinical data managers, is you have to, than just telling the programmer, can you create a report like that? You have to go and tell them, this is what I want exactly. That brings a lot of value to the report, the value to the task, and value to the what you're looking for. That's my take actually. Whoever wants to be a clinical data manager, so you have to drive that than programming driving you actually. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's it from my introduction point of view.
Okay, perfect. And I guess you, as a data manager, I guess in basic terms, what is a clinical data manager? Maybe what does a typical day-to-day look like for a clinical data manager in the most basic terms?
So as someone like I think the question is about like if some maybe high school kid or like a kindergarten or whatever is it, someone wants to learn a little bit, or not kindergartner but it's middle school kid or want to learn,
Hmm.
or college kid want to learn about that clinical data. What is clinical data basically? It can be everything what we do on a daily activity is data basically. If a high school middle school kid or like a kindergarten playing with toys, pencils, books, this is data. How many pencils I have, how many books I have, that is data basically. But in the clinical data perspective, it's a little different, but the concept is the same. What you have, and coming to the point of day-to-day activities, a clinical data manager role is basically, it's a big collaborative role. He or she plays as a binding or like a mediator between programming team, clinical operations team, and every group, the medical review team, So he is the point of contact for he or she is a point of contact for every person in the team to interact to. That is the reason this role requires a lot of collaboration. That is the only way you can get a success into data management point of view. Yeah. From daily activities perspective, we get hundreds of emails every day. You should understand the priorities. Main thing is there any safety issues I should address immediately? Or should I reach out to the site to explain something? So that is how you prioritize things, because out of 8 hours, 9 hours we work, you have lot of meetings every day. So you have to balance it, saying that this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to skip a meeting if you have to, but I want to do this. So you have to plan accordingly. And the demand is way high than what you expect in clinical data management. The role looks simpler, but the expectations are from each and every role group in the whole clinical operations is very demanding from data management perspective. One last point I want to highlight in the lighter section of the data clinical data manager is that anytime everything goes well, the first person appreciated is data management, clinical data management. And if something goes wrong, the first person to be blamed is clinical data manager. That's how the industry is. That's how the industry is,
Yeah.
for good or bad reasons. But I'm just saying that is how it works, and
Hmm.
that we play a pivotal role in the whole clinical operation process. Yeah.
Hmm. And there's always a term I hear from people in data management. Is it's about keeping the data clean, or some variation of keeping the data clean. I guess what does that actually mean, and in basic terms, and how do you essentially keep the data clean within a clinical trial?
Someone who doesn't know about the clinical trial, or some kid wants to learn about what is about data cleaning means, it can be practical point of view, right? Imagine you're reading a book today, a high school kid or reading a book actually, and he sees a page is missing. It's possible some printing can happen, a page can be missing, or he bought a used book for some reason, a page is missing. Then he has to understand why is it missing. How can I go back and find that page? Whom to reach out to? Finding the missing page. So what should I do there? Yeah, that's one thing. And imagine that so one or two sentences or one of the words is blurry or not clear, a wrong typo is there. Then you have to be careful to understand the whole meaning of that sentence can change. So you have to be very very cautious over there to understand why is it missing, then what is that word. So you have to clarify with someone. No ambiguity there. You can't interpret that this is how it is. No, there's no possibility over there. You have to step back and see, understand, ask, or go to other book and compare it, or wherever it is possible. Get that information, make it clear. So data cleaning is required, like same like the way our life, everyday life is that we want to keep organized. We want to make sure that this is I do this on timely basis. So data cleaning is basically about what we collect, what we submit to authorities. Do we have the data supposed to go to authorities in a well formatted, in a right this thing? Is it a date correct? Is it do we have many missing data? Do you have interpretation of the dates correctly? So there are a lot of things depending on the protocol, depending on the ECRF page, all the collection, whatever you want to do. It's not about the quantity, it's quality is very very important, because things can change. So whatever you collect it, you have to make sure that it's clean as much as possible before going to the authorities.
Yeah, and we obviously live nowadays in a world where there is so much more data than probably from the start of your career 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much data as there is now. Obviously we have electronic health databases. There's Fitbits and all these different elements of measuring throughout that can go into clinical trials. I guess, has that been a blessing for you, or has that been a hindrance? Has that affected data management in your eyes, or?
It's not like every study will have that type of data.
Yeah,
As some cardiovascular studies is very very important to collect type of data. They call diary data actually. Instead of doing a manual process, a paper diary form, they have the electronic records right now. So they can have on the cell phone, you can take an app and complete it, or you can have a history by patient having the watch, Apple Watch or whatever it is, it actually Fitbit. So you have it to track the information. Like someone doing a cardiovascular study, they want to know the heart rate like that, all the stuff. So that they can track that information. And the only thing is like the challenge is technology there. How do you integrate the data? How do you validate the data? How to make sure that it is correct format what you're looking for? So there is a challenge there. It is an advantage for sure than manual process. So the beauty of this is that whatever we collect patient data, we cannot go back and query the patient what was, is it correct or wrong. So you have to be very very clear to make sure that you have the right tools in place. Then sometimes the tools can hurt and help also, right? So instead of collecting like 10 to 20 questions, make it clear what you are collecting actually. So that is one thing you have to be very careful. Yes, collecting data is good, but you have to be well structured, and the data validation is required, data integration is required, and how do we get the data, format of the data. This all takes into you have to take into the picture. Definitely, then paper collection, the technology is really helpful, but you have to use it in a proper way. Yeah.
yeah. Is there any besides, I guess, obviously, financial pressures can affect all work? But has there been anything that's really affected data management in the last, or maybe over your 20 years plus in the industry? Is there anything that's been significantly um, interrupting your work or making it more challenging?
No, and a financial perspective is that like there are a lot of tools in the industry for data collection, data review purposes. And if you're working for a biotech company, working for a big pharma, it's different. It's different because you have to decide how to weigh the cost actually. You want to go with a simpler tool to manage the company cost. If it's a bigger company, you can afford to build a tool in-house, get some or buy some external tool depending on the cost, how you want to move forward actually. All depends on the organization, how much they want to spend, and you can decide. And there are a lot of tools right now, but you can build your own tool also, but it needs a lot of validation process in place, all these things. As cost comes into the picture, depending on the right tool you want to use for for your company, based on your company there, this uh, cost everything actually.
Yeah, and you mentioned about those tools there. What are some of the tools that you've used over the years, and how do you implement them into your sort of day to day work?
So the way we said like clinical data, right? Clinical data means like who is collecting it, how are we collecting it. Like if you go to like, if right now all the kids use Google Doc actually to store the data, whatever they have tracking information, all the information they save it over there. Similarly, if a kid wants to like, or they have Apple like, notepad or whatever it is they have, they all track information, but it's not validated. It is just information collected on a daily basis. But we want a validated platform to collect the data in a structured manner. Like if you look at the Word document, if a table of contents, what does it say? It say go to page 5, look at this information. Go to page 10, look at this information. What do we create table of contents? It means that easy navigation, so that it is a structured manner. Someone wants to know exactly, if you have 100-page document, you want to go to the right place, you can go back and navigate it. There are a lot of tools in the industry. There are like Medidata Rave is there, Viva is there, and Medrio is there, and there are small VDoc or some small tools in the industry. Oracle Clinical was there in the industry before, but I haven't seen it before for a long time. I worked on like Oracle Clinical, Inform, Face, I think it is, then Medrio, Rave. There are a lot of tools in the market for this actually, ECRF tools actually.
Yeah,
But as a technology change, they try to integrate a lot of factors into the way you said, like before. Any external devices can be integrated directly into the EDC system than manually doing that also.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And sorry, excuse me. I There's always you keep saying it a lot now. Data science versus data management, and
yeah.
obviously, I know we talk clinical data. How has I guess what's the main differences for firstly, and how has this sort of data science sort of come into the industry and maybe affected data management?
So that's as I told before itself, right, in my introduction too. As a data manager, you can't depend on someone to do programming for you. Learn the basics of programming, understand the metadata. That way, data science is basically like more of understanding of the data in a right format you want to present it. You can present the data the way you want, 100 combinations, right? But as a data science person, he can guide you through in the right format and right this thing. But you have to guide them. They're doing the programming for you. But if you can talk to them, be in there, you have to get into there and say, this is what I'm looking for. As a data science person, he may or may not have the clinical data knowledge. He may be a very good programmer, but doesn't mean that he understands the clinical data. You have to take the step and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is the logic you've implemented. That is the reason I'm saying that you cannot be a data science person and data manager, but you have to be like little bit of skill set to improve as a data science person as well. That will help you a lot then even interact with the right people actually. Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously there are so many different indications that you can work on. I know you've worked on quite a few, like oncology and gene therapy, all these different areas. I guess does typically speaking, most people in clinical data management tend to work on a lot of the indications, whereas
yeah.
say like statisticians might focus on certain areas. Does your role change over the indications, or is it always the same, or is it a mixture of the both?
The role doesn't change much as a data manager, as a clinical data manager, but definitely understanding changes because every therapeutic area has general, almost like a vital signs collection, demography information, visit information, and like screening data. There are some, most of the will be same. They're not going to change much actually, but every therapeutic area will have specialized domains and tables, ECR of pages or domains. Well, I can call domains or tables or ECRFs like that. Like example, in oncology has a different classifications to solid tumors, liquid tumors like that. Solid tumor can have RECIST criteria, a lot of data collection in that area. The liquid tumors can have NCCN guidelines. Some of the ALL studies can have NCCN guidelines. So, and women's health studies can have part of women's history, diary data, pregnancy data. So every therapeutic area will have a specialized one. That is where people look for and say, if you want to work in oncology, people always have how much oncology experience do you have? So it's not like you can't do it. It will definitely help us to understand. People can understand clinical data management first and foremost thing, but the therapeutic area does add to that actually little bit into that because people in oncology is a different ball game compared to all therapeutic areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite indication, or maybe a certain trial that you've worked on that maybe you're the most proud of, or that or most interested you over your career?
Oncology is a primary oncology is a really good therapeutic area to challenge yourself because it has huge data and lot of pages challenging in like patients can go for like and long term in oncology we call cyclical studies. It means that patient is still on will be on study till the death actually, some study. So most of the oncology studies, so that is where the challenging is that like you see patients who are struggling and we want to help them because oncology is different, this survival. Some therapeutic areas is more of quality of life, but in oncology that's not the case here. So that is where you feel that you're proud of as a clinical data manager and say, I'm helping people here right now. So you feel satisfied over there.
Yeah,
So yes, definitely oncology is my expertise for a long time. I worked in pain management, I worked in women's health studies, I worked in insomnia study. So there are a lot of things I've worked in, but oncology is a different ball game, completely totally different actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
What does the sort of future of data management look like? Because obviously, I know there's well, the big one popping up for a lot of industries is AI and that thing where they're like, oh, AI is going to kill off this job, it's going to kill off that job. But obviously, it's always evolving. So I guess what does the future of data management look like in your eyes? And is it a positive world, or is it going to be
It's
disappear?
going to be
Or
challenging for sure. As I
yeah,
told you before, you have to be ready for a programming part knowledge also. Like when I started, like my advantage is that I'm a programming knowledge person. I'm not a great programmer, but I understand the data very, very well. Yes, some of the tasks can be automated, will be automated, no matter how you do it because of technology's evolvement. So it will be like challenging, but you have to be ready for that. So you just can't say that no, no, this I can't do this actually. No, it's not going to work
hmm
out like that actually. You have to
hmm
go with the technology and you can't escape from that.
yeah. Because yeah, I guess even with programming now, we're obviously starting to see a lot more of companies adopting R over SAS. I know SAS is
Yeah.
still the main one, but it is really evolving. I guess do you see that SAS eventually sort of drifting out of the industry and then R just taking over fully, or is it again going to be sort of a hybrid, or is there maybe another programming language that is coming through?
Yeah, R is an open source one, so it is like cheaper for companies actually to implement it. But authority is still like SaaS, a little bit still like in the SaaS mode. It's not going to just gone like in a day or two.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
going to take long time. Like, but definitely R is replaced. But I don't think it's replaced in the submission level right now. But it definitely on a daily to as a statistician, a SAS programmer, they're using R Shiny or R sometimes to
hmm
develop internal tools and data review all the stuff. But I don't think about submission. But I'm not sure about that actually 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. I guess you obviously right at the start when we started talking, you did mention a few things about students and obviously people potentially being interested in a career. I guess you touched on it, but what are the key skills that maybe someone at university or maybe they're at college that are looking to go to university and they
Yeah.
they want to get a career in data management? I guess what should they be studying? Maybe what programming language should they be learning, or any other skills that you think are really useful and will get them put their best foot forward getting into the industry?
Uh, there is no like some courses are directly related to the job, but some courses may not be related to the job. This is one of the job where it's not directly related to some. You learn something, you go become like the data manager. There's no course like that. But definitely, like you should be able to think outside the box. That is one thing skill you should learn it. Then science background is helpful, a combination of programming background, so that you can speak. But you don't need to speak as a physician like that. You need to have basic knowledge of it. That will help you a little bit on that. But you, as a clinical data manager options, it's very, very difficult to start a career in a big pharma. But you might as if you are qualified student, like if you're looking for opportunities, apply it in the CRO company. They can help you that because they give a breakthrough compared to big pharma in the as a fresher. Yeah. So
Yeah,
look at CRO side of it. If you don't know what CRO is, basically, it's a services provider who helps all the big pharmas and biotechs actually there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was actually going to be one of my next questions. Was what's the best route into the industry? Is it go straight into the large companies, or is it go to the CROs or consultancies or biotechs? But I guess you've already answered that. So Thank you for that. Um, I guess what's one thing you would telling someone coming into the industry something that they should know about data management that maybe doesn't isn't explained, in general, like something you wish you knew when you first started in data management.
So when I came to know that, oh, there are so many thousands of pages, all this stuff, it's not thousands of pages. Basically, you should understand that only some there are meaningful pages sometimes, and you should look at the important pages are very very important. You can't clean 110% everything, all the stuff. You have to look at the most important pages. One thing I learned is the biggest thing I learned is as a data manager, as a clinical data manager, or what I learned is that like don't panic first and foremost thing. If something is wrong, doesn't mean that it is patient is doing really bad. It can be you should always think positively and say, is it a data entry error? Someone misinterpreting differently? So understand the whole concept. Then raise the alarm. Don't jump on saying that, oh, this is wrong here. The patient is messed up there. Everything is wrong here, and patient is doing not doing good at all. Step back and think about it before passing the information to the upper management and say, I'm going to review it first thoroughly, get the conclusion, then tell people that this is the situation right now. Yeah. So that is one thing you should learn. And the next thing I'll tell you always is that like as a clinical data manager, you're center of the focus for a lot of people. And a lot of people be asking like, I want this, I want that, all these reports, I want clinical report. So you have to think the end users can vary, and all the reports what you send to people may not suit. They're not looking at uh, all the columns. A medical expert may be looking at only 1 to 5 columns. Some other group person, study manager or someone like that, they're looking at only from column 1 to 5 and 8 to 10 like that. So you need to have my way of working. I can tell you is that like if I'm sending my report to James or someone else, he or she should not waste a single second formatting it. Oh, this is the right column. I'm looking for all these things. Exactly, they need to go to the right what they're looking for. They should not ask back question to you. How do you do that? Is always focus on the right format, right end user perspective. Think of that. That is very very important for anyone clinical data manager or that clinical data point of view. Please do not send data to someone in because raw data can have 50 columns. If you send someone, okay, here is it, go and look into that, you're wasting their time and your time. So please don't do that. Learn to have a well formatted, well structured, end user focus and send the data to them like that. That is one thing I've been doing it. I tell every data manager to do that also. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. What's the best part of the job? What's the bit that makes you do it every day? What do you love about data management?
You see the data, you're helping patients. This is a very big thing for you. A lot of satisfaction you'll have, and so I'm helping these people, all these things. And you play a pivotal role in the whole process, clinical trial process, because you're the center of attraction for good or bad reasons sometimes. But you're the center of attraction, and you get to see the data, you get to talk to people every day, and you interact with us. In general, you have a study manager, you have a CRO, CRA. You have a medical monitor, you have a statistician, you have ADC programmer, then medical writer. So you talk to the statisticians. So there are a lot of people you interact on a daily basis for the data point of view. So that is where but there is nothing like, oh, I'm done learning all this clinical data management, I can move on. No, no, no. Every day is a learning there. That's how the industry is basically. Like you
Hmm.
have to keep on learning it. And the question you asked earlier was therapeutic area. There's no guarantee that you'll be working in the same therapeutic area for lifelong. People move to the different therapeutic areas. They want to learn a little bit more. Someone coming to oncology is a wake up call for them. So they have to be ready for that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And my last question, because what I want to know is we obviously made this sort of podcast series about talking to people like yourself to highlight the important work that you guys do, which normally goes, and you mentioned it earlier, normally goes under the radar until it goes wrong, and then you're the villain, and then everyone moans at you. And outside of that, it's just the work is expected to be done. So, I guess in your eyes, why is data management so important, or clinical data management so important? What does a world without clinical data management look like within clinical trials? Um, and yeah, why is it so important?
Because at the end of the day, like, data is very important for us, right? Wherever it's not like a financial data where every second you have to be careful.
Hmm.
Every millions of a second is very important actually here. Credit card transaction, that's not the case here, but you do have to have quality validated data to the authorities actually. And it's very difficult to go back and explain to them, so this is wrong here, I didn't do that, someone did it for you. That doesn't work like that actually, doesn't fly actually. So you have to be very careful as a clinical data manager. You have to take the responsibility, accountability, and collaboration to get clean as much as possible on a timely basis. That is where you get the importance, because you talk to people and you should be able to guide people also. It's not, you can't expect everyone to understand everything. So you should be able to tell them, this is what it is. Can you look at this one and come back to me?
Yeah.
It is not that I'm not saying that, like, I'll encourage people if someone has thinking of the career where they want to have like a career in clinical data management. It's a great one, but you have to be ready for challenges there. You have to understand it, science point of view, data perspective, technical perspective. You always have to think, my there are a lot of end users, I have to help people.
Hmm.
What are they looking for? And
Yeah.
similarly, you should be able to talk to the programming team and tell them not what they can create for you. You should be able to tell them what you want as well. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Perfect. Well, look, I think we'll leave it there then. But Narayan, I really appreciate time and thank you for all that insight. It's always really interesting talking to you guys and getting a clearer picture of the world of data management. I know how busy you are, so thank you for your time and agreeing to do this.